not the adults. Hello, Eric. Do you
Hey,
support Trump?
yes, I do.
Eric, why is that?
I support Trump. Wait, I can't have my camera on?
Um, like preferably not.
Why? You were just complaining about people having stage fright. I'm having like the opposite, and you're like neglecting it.
You can turn
We
it
can
on.
talk
It's
about
fine.
it.
You can turn it on.
All right. All right. So I support Trump because I feel like he is a less controlled population. So like let me, every other capitalist is only focused on running their own pockets. Meanwhile, Trump is actually focused on lining the pockets of the American people.
Eric, that's just simply false.
How?
The Institute on Taxation and Economics reports that every American that's in the bottom 97% will have less purchasing power because of his economic policy. He is only furthering income inequalities in this country.
Right, but purchasing power isn't the only thing that dictates how well an economy is doing, and also
But it is
it
the
is
only thing
not
that
the
dictates how
only
much
thing that
money you have in your
determines the
pockets.
right. But the amount of money doesn't really matter if like the cost of things go down. So like that also doesn't have to do with purchasing power. Purchasing power is what you can buy with the amount of money that's in your pocket, not really the amount of money.
And that's the only thing that's relevant.
Yeah. So with the amount of what you can get, with what you can buy, yeah, it will go up and down and it'll fluctuate. Right now, it's going to go down because we're in a point where the economy needs to rebuild. So we're in a rebuilding stage. There's going to be a recession. And then once we get down into the recession, there's going to be a trough. And then we go up into a peak. That's how it cycles.
Okay, I want you to prove to me that that's not mere speculation equivalent to being an anti-vaxxer by giving me a cohesive economic argument to demonstrate that the long-term outcome of Donald Trump's policy now will be a total net positive.
Well, I can give you this. I can give you this. Based on everything that he has been doing so far with all of the things that he has been passing, like where he's adding all these tariffs and everything like that, where there's going to be new jobs coming into America. These new jobs will allow for
Okay.
more income for the American citizens.
Once again,
The American
this is
citizens
all
have,
presuppositional.
right, but you're cutting me off. Let me finish. So having more jobs coming into the economy, it is subsidies. You're not going to, let me not sidetrack. Let me finish my point. So, oh, my fault. So all these new jobs fluctuating into the economy will allow for more people to have money in their pockets, like you said, but the money is going to be less valuable because our currency is going down the. Can I curse?
Fuck.
Okay, so our currency is going to be going down the shitter, especially with things like the Brink system coming up and the U.S. not being the petrodollar anymore very soon. Like our economy is looking like it's going down, down, down. So all we can do is get more jobs into America, which
Eric?
we get more jobs into America. With these more jobs into America, the cash flows coming in. It's going to allow us to have a more stable foundation for when this recession hits. All I'm saying is Trump is good for America because he is allowing for us to prepare for the recession that is coming. He's not going to be able to stop it. He's not going to be able to like change anything that's happening. All he's going to do is be able to help us better prepare for it. Meanwhile, the Biden economy is only the Biden economics were only focused on lining the pockets of the rich so the rich can better prepare for it. They can get their assets for even cheaper, even earlier.
Okay, the recession that is coming is only happening because of Donald Trump's policy. Fun fact, okay, the Atlanta Fed, which is a bank of the Federal Reserve, they were the first ones reporting a recession this year, negative GDP growth. I want you to guess what their prospect on GDP growth in 2025 was on the day of Trump's inauguration. Take a guess.
That's a rhetorical question. So
No, it is a very literal question. Their prospect on projected GDP growth in the first financial quarter of 2025, this right now, during the inauguration, was at 4% positive GDP growth. Okay, but it's only when Trump came in, Trump instituted his blanket tariffs, Trump decreased consumer confidence, Trump pulled foreign investors out of American markets. Trump is sending America towards a recession. If Trump was not president today, if the 49.9% of Americans didn't vote for him and voted for Kamala Harris, America would be prospering. America would not be heading towards a recession. So don't act like it is anybody's fault outside of Trump's. And I'll also have you know this. You said that Donald Trump is building more jobs in America today to prep for the recession. One of the massive indicators, right, of a recession right now is huge layoffs. Donald Trump is not causing an increase in jobs in America today.
Okay. So I would say this.
Oh, then also one last thing. You told us that the Biden and Harris administration, their tax code, essentially better off the most wealthy Americans at the expense of the average American.
Yeah.
Guess what? The tax code that was implemented during their administration was signed into law in 2017 by who? Trump. In fact, it is literally called Trump's tax cuts, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
I mean, I was more so talking about I'm not really big on the actual, like.
You were talking about taxes, but you weren't talking
themselves.
about taxes. Got it.
Yeah. No. I wasn't talking about the tax code. See, I was talking about taxes, not the tax code specifically. I was more so.
What do you think taxes are regulated by?
Hold on.
Tax code.
Hold on. One of my friends has like a huge crush on you. Is like cheesed on you. She wants to say hi.
I don't have a crush on you, but you're amazing.
Well, I really appreciate that. That's very kind.
So
of
normally
you.
I'd be having these debates with her. She's like more like on your standing. I be doing these all the time for fun with like everybody in my college. So it's like.
Okay, Eric. Well, I mean, I guess let's try to respond to what I just said.
Let me lock back in.
So you told me that like the taxes under the Biden-Harris administration redistributed wealth from poor to the
So
rich.
that was
the taxes under.
Yeah, that was a blunder on my fault.
Okay, so what did you mean to say?
Tax code. I was more so talking about the Bidenomics, like what they be talking about. When
Biden,
talking
like
about
the policy they passed.
Yeah, the policies and everything that they were doing, just what they were doing.
Well,
I don't know the
let's
exact
play a game to
details
test this
on what
theory.
they were doing, but the after effect of what they did, I could see, and I can see that it wasn't really good. And also, I want to say the NASDAQ, we can look at the NASDAQ before, like during the whole Biden administration, then you can watch it during Trump's administration. You can watch it go up during his administration.
What? No. Markets are down 7% since his inauguration.
I ain't cut you off not one time. Let me finish. It has recently taken a big dip after all these tariff nonsense and everything that's going on, which is to be expected after a big economic decision like that. But it's going to go back up. But as soon as he took office, it shot up and then it shot back down after all these policies and things happen. We're just waiting. If it doesn't go back up, then I would agree with you that he had a plan that completely failed. But like, you got to give him the time. You know what I'm saying? It's still too early on to see if like he's actually, because when he did initially take office, it shot up immediately. So he was doing stuff right. And then it's to be expected after something like this that it would tank.
That's just literally not fucking true. Like, so I just want to make that incredibly clear. No, anybody could go on Google, look up the NASDAQ composite. What you see is that it was stagnant from the day of his inauguration with a little bit of some downturns, but general stagnation for the next month until February 19th, where it then started to steadily go downhill. By the way, this was all before he signed his blanket tariffs into law. So from February 19th until April 2nd, right, Liberation Day, the NASDAQ composite steadily went downhill. But then on Liberation Day, huge fucking dip. So I want to make it so incredibly clear that since the inauguration, the market has gone down, right, specifically the NASDAQ composite, by around 9 to 10%. So don't act as if he's been good for American markets, because that is a lie. Now, I would also like to point out here simultaneously, you told us that the Biden-Harris administration fought for the rich. He's fighting for the average American. That's just not fucking true. In fact, Kamala Harris wanted to cut taxes for 100 million American workers in the low and the middle class, which included increases in the child tax credit, which would have reduced childhood poverty by over 40%, right? And she was going to pay for it by increasing taxes on the rich. She had offered a 7% increase in the overall corporate tax rate. So I'm going to need you to walk that claim back. Now, if we want to talk about Trump's tax cuts, they were significantly more expensive than what Kamala Harris proposed, as well as 80% of the cuts in the bill went straight to the top 1%. And when we compile that with his tariffs, which serve as a regressive tax, right, which reduce your purchasing power the less money you make, right, we see that in accordance with his tax policy, overall economic policy, anybody making under $395,000 per year will be worse off insofar as possessing less purchasing power. It was obviously the case that in the 2024 election, Kamala Harris was better for the average American compared to Donald Trump.
I mean, but like that's speculation. You keep talking about speculation,
It's not
but
speculative.
It really is. Like, she hasn't been able to take office. So how could you say that she would have been better for the American people if you don't know that for a fact? How do you know that she wouldn't have had a completely different economic policy?
For
that would have
sure,
completely
because her
changed it?
economic policy just literally included cutting taxes for the average American. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's economic policy effectively increases taxes for the average American.
Right, but what about the stuff that he's doing with DOGE, which is lowering the taxes, and he's also taking away? This is speculatory, but he's working to try to take away the income tax, which is the whole point of the tariffs.
So first and foremost, how does DOGE cut taxes?
Well, it's because he's finding all of the discrepancies that the U.S. is spending in, which will allow for a lower budget, which would mean they would need less money, which would mean that they could
Right.
cut.
So Trump's whole idea is use DOGE to cut like $85 billion out of cancer research so he could justify spending $8 trillion on tax cuts for the ultra wealthy, and that appeases you. But when Kamala Harris ran on policy that was overall less expensive for the American people and would have been better for national expenditure and debt in the next 10 years, apparently she's the bad guy. It makes no
What
sense.
about the
Even when we
$1 billion?
factor DOGE into account, Donald Trump wants to spend so much goddamn money on cutting taxes for the ultra wealthy that our country loses money. Not to mention that because we're heading towards a recession, well, what happens in a recession? GDP growth goes where? Down. What happens when GDP growth goes down? Government revenues go down. So not only does Donald Trump want to spend more than Kamala Harris, but he's also decreasing government revenue.
So let's stick to the DOGE for a second, because you like the blunderbuss, and I like that. I love it. Like, I really do love it, but I'm too fried and I can't keep up with this many topics. So I just can stick to the DOGE right now. So DOGE, you said, like, they're cutting billions of dollars from cancer research, but like, you failed to like look at the stuff that they're actually finding and cutting. What about the $1 billion that they found in Social Security being paid out to dead people?
What about the director of Social Security that said it never happened?
The director of Social Security, the director of the office that is losing $1 billion, is saying, oh, no, that didn't really happen. We didn't actually lose $1 billion. And you're trusting that?
Well, I trust it specifically significantly more than DOGE, who has falsely reported like over 15 contracts worth millions and or billions of dollars, claiming that they've cut this expenditure when it never existed in the first place. I'd highly implore you to investigate that. All that you got to do is go to Google, type in New York Post, DOGE falsely reports deductions in government expenditure, and you'll be given their lengthy reporting on the topic of how DOGE has falsely reported government contracts that they've quote unquote cut. Well, in all reality, they never existed in the first place. But I don't expect you just to trust the New York Post. What makes this reporting reliable is the fact that in response, DOGE took these fake government contracts that they claim they cut off of their website.
All right, so let me ask you this. Do you believe that our government spends our tax dollars properly?
Fuck no.
All right, so we can agree on that. Do you believe that finding a way to cut the way our government is spending would lower taxes?
How about we just say like better? Like, do I think it'd be really a good thing if we could have like a board to investigate government expenditure so we could be very clear with where our government is spending our money? Absolutely. Like, I agree ideologically speaking with the Department of Government Efficiency. In fact, I think it's a fucking great idea. But the issue here,
it's Trump doing it.
No. Listen, the issue here isn't the idea that is supposedly underpinning the DOGE, but it's rather the way in which they are executing upon that idea. Okay? Because when we consider that they're not merely cutting funding for means of government efficiency, or else their first priority would be looking at the Department of Defense, the DOD. They're instead using it as a tool to enforce and suggest their power, to claim they're cutting efforts of DEI, when in all reality, they're harming very real people by cutting, like access and funding to cancer research. And on top of that all, even if we were to make a consideration for every single dollar that DOGE says they can cut from our government expenditure, we still would have had less overall government expenditure under Kamala Harris, because Donald Trump's expenditure applies more upward pressure on government expenditure than DOGE provides downward pressure.
And look, we can agree on that right there, especially with the Department of Defense. And this is like these kind of conversations brings this kind of information to the people's eyes, because most people aren't going to go back and forth and have this conversation to get to this point where they could be like, all right, yeah. So both sides got good ideas. Nobody's executing it properly.
But we need to take a step in the better direction. Government expenditure would have been better under Kamala Harris.
I don't believe so. I believe it
What?
literally.
Wait. The Congressional Budget Office, reports that all of his policy is going to cost $10 to $15 trillion in government expenditure. Meanwhile, her policy was estimated to cost $4 trillion.
I didn't mean to start this. Hold on. I don't think she would have ever actually done it. I feel like that side, I don't think that any other Republican would have done it either. I think Trump is just so stupid, so crazy, and isn't doing the shit that he's supposed to be doing. He's just doing shit that he can. There are people manipulating him to get certain things done. There is a narrative being pushed, but Trump is doing random shit that is not supposed to be happening. Like this department, like the DOGE department, it's not supposed. Like they're not. The government's not supposed to be getting checked on their spending. This was never
Eric,
supposed to happen.
I have an idea, and I want you to prove my idea wrong. Are you ready? I think you're talking out of I think that actually got me a restriction earlier. I don't think that you're really thinking before you're speaking. Okay, and the reason why I say I don't think you're thinking before you're speaking is because I just detailed how Kamala's would have been better for government expenditure simply because her policy was projected to cost less. And then your response to that was to say that you don't think she would have done it. Done what specifically?
Like had a Department of Government Spending.
Okay, well then you're just not listening to me. So she didn't run on having a DOGE. But what she did run on, her policy was less expensive than Trump's, even when we factor DOGE into account. Think about it this way. Right? If DOGE could cut... Listen to me. If Doge, please just listen to me.
Go ahead.
If Doge could cut $2 trillion from government expenditure, which by the way is the maximum goal set by Elon Musk, okay, that seems like a good thing on the surface. Well, what if, in order to get Doge to cut $2 trillion from government expenditure, we had to elect Trump, who wants to spend $10 trillion on all of his new policy, meaning that at the end of the day, we're still in the red $8 trillion under Trump. So now we have to do this evaluation to determine how much we would have been in the red under a Kamala Harris presidency. Well, we know she wouldn't have cut much spending. She didn't run out of DOGE. So how much did she want to spend? Closer to $4 to $6 trillion. So what's better for government expenditure, right? Being in the red $4 to $6 trillion or being in the red $8 trillion? Overall, being in the red $4 to $6 trillion is better, meaning that Kamala Harris's administration would have been better, even though they didn't run on a DOGE.
Okay. Now, so there was just a misunderstanding. What I thought you were saying was that her doing DOGE, would have been better because hers would have been cheaper and then she would have been able to run it efficiently. I didn't know that you were saying her plan in general was just better, excluding DOGE. I thought you were making a comparison on if she did it.
Basically, what I'm saying is that Kamala Harris without DOGE is better for government expenditure than Donald Trump with DOGE.
All right, but government expenditure, sure, I can give you that. But what I'm more so talking about is the cultural impact and just the way that it affects the actual people itself. Look, so
cultural impact?
Yeah, because look.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Donald Trump's cultural impact of widespread acceptance.
I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about just of having the DOGE itself. Now we're talking about DOGE still. Remember.
Okay, so you're basically saying virtue signaling.
Of government efficiency, because let's say Donald Trump comes out of office, and this is still going to be a thing.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that virtue signaling and spending more money is better than not virtue signaling and saving more money.
No. Because they're saving money regardless. It's speculatory. You're saying that that's exactly what would happen. That's not guaranteed. But I can allow in good faith.
Wait. No. That's so fucking disingenuous of you. That is so fucking disingenuous of you, Eric. The argument that you were just trying to run before I started speaking was that the long-term impact of designating the existence of DOGE now will be an overall positive benefit because it will exist and extend beyond the Trump administration, which is purely fucking speculatory. And in fact, we have reason to not believe that because there's a similar department established under Obama. Where the fuck did that go? But you turn around and tell me that I'm speculative for basing my research and my beliefs off of the CBO, the CRBF, and other various institutions of finance, such as the Institution on Economics and Taxation. That is so disingenuous of you. We're both having a conversation. Okay, you got something to say, so you want to interrupt.
You said you don't think. I don't think before I talk. I think you just did that right there.
No, I didn't.
Because what I was trying to say was, it's speculatory, but I'm going to argue in good faith and say, yeah, we can do that because everything I just said was speculatory.
Right, but the issue with your speculation...
I was already going to say that, bro.
The issue with your speculation is that it's baseless, and we actually have reason to believe it's false because there's a similar department established under Obama. What the fuck happened to that after Obama left office? You're interrupting me again.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does matter when you're trying to make a speculatory... Wait, Eric, stop interrupting. I'm about to kick you. I'm about to remove you from my live stream.
A little bit of comp and you remove? That's crazy.
No, bro, the reason I want to remove you isn't because you're giving me comp. It's because you're interrupting me every 5 words. Let me speak.
Hey, man. All right. Can we hug? I just want to make up real quick and then we can restart. Let's just hug. All right. I feel better.
That's so insane. Anyways, to go back to what I said, see, your speculation is baseless. And in fact, we don't have any reason to believe that it is the case, as there's a similar department established under Obama's presidency. It kind of ceased to exist when he left. Not to mention that what I am reiterating to you is not simple speculation, as it is based upon a preponderance of fact, reason, and projections from Institute on Taxation and Economics.
Type shit. So, I'm sorry, bro, your grin be getting me, bro. Because it's like, I don't know when you be trolling, because I know, like, you got that oomph, but, like, you don't oomph, but, like, you be oomphin'. And I hope that can, like, really reflect. I hope I just vocalized what I was trying to say properly. So back to the point. I definitely agree. And really, I don't take either side. I don't take either side of the argument. I just been doing this all for fun. I'm not into politics at all, for real. I don't take either side. I feel like it's all controlled opposition. It's all run by the people who own all the companies. You know what I'm saying? But like, I had a whole bunch of fun. You're smart as fuck. How the fuck do you remember all this shit?
What the fuck? I'm usually prepared for that. I like have to put myself in like a headspace to like be prepared. I completely had my guard down there. That was very unexpected. Anyways, according to some people in the chat, oh, he was half black. Wait, was that like clear on his account? Sorry, I honestly I thought that he was white, but he was biracial. Oh, he was biracial. Okay, yo, Eric, hop back in that queue, bro. I'm sorry, dude. I thought that you were just some white boy, like saying the N-word. That caught me off guard. Hop back in that queue, Eric. And he's back. Let's clarify with Eric. Let's clarify with Eric real quick. Yo, Eric.
Man,
are you a white boy?
No, I'm half black and half Mexican.
Thank you. Thanks for. Sorry, Eric. I'm sorry. My bad, bro. I'm sorry. Welcome back to this. Right. Welcome back to the stream. I hope that you understand my shock and my abundance of caution. Welcome.
It happens to me all the time. I get it.
Oh, thanks for clarifying. Go ahead.
Hey, but yeah, you smart as hell. How the fuck do you remember all this shit, man?
Honestly, damn. Now I gotta remove you, Eric.
I got flagged. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, Eric. Peace out. That was TikTok TOS. It wasn't me, I swear. But honestly, it's just like a lot of a lot of like research to begin with, but then a lot of repetition of what is research on these lives. Like, I don't know, like if any of y'all are in school, you know how you'll be recommended to write it down on flashcards and then like repeat until you really know it well. Well, that's like essentially what I do with the information that I share in the lives, because I have like similar conversations quite frequently. Yo, that guy was chill though. He'd make a really good dim. I really hope that you end up listening to your roommate or your friend, whoever was with you. You'd be a very chill live. All right. Anyways, what's going on, Christina?
Hi, how are you?
You know what? I'm doing all right. I
Good.
I'm a little lightheaded. I'm kind of tired. I haven't eaten much